Hi, I'm Billy Spencer. I'm the mayor here in the village of Piketon, where we're at today, having this meeting, and introduce the gentleman around me. I have Herman Potter, who's the president of the Steelworkers Union on site, Clint Fouch, who is representing the Guard Union, I have Jerry Hall, who's a Jackson County Commissioner, Blaine Beekman, Pike County Commissioner, and Mike Crabtree, who's a Soda County Commissioner. And we're here to talk a little bit about funding out on site. I'll turn this over real quick to some guys that have a lot more information about it than I do, but I'd like to say that now I've never lived anywhere else but here in Pike County in my life. And I've been on site for 37 years. I started out as a guard, and now I'm a security manager for Insolves. But funding out there, the way it's being done with barter program and the fluctuations in the price, mostly fluctuating down, and the sale of that has cost the site dearly as far as work being done, and now people's jobs are again on the line. And like I said, we're going to talk about this a little bit, but we got to come up with a more stable way of funding the D&D and the disposal sale out there, so that people can make plans in their life and have some, when the funding and their jobs are on the line every 6 months or a couple times a year, once a year, whatever. They don't buy homes, they don't buy cars. If there is layoffs in towns like Piketon and other ones around, their revenue is hurt from that, so they can't do what they want to do and make the plans that they'd like to. So a lot depends on the plant, and a lot depends on stable funding for the site. And I think that's what we're here to talk about today. So I just want to say that the Village of Piketon supports the plant, has always supported the plant, supports the D&D of the plant, supports the sale, the disposal sale, and you'll be hearing a term, I think, closure fund. The Village of Piketon supports that. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to Herman first, and then you guys can say what you need to say.
Okay, thank you, Billy. Right now, currently, the funding issue is we go through this every year, and lately it's become almost a continuous issue, is trying to deal with the funding. Right now, currently, based on the Congress and the Senate's language that was established in March on the funding issues, we're about $74 million down. That equates to about 850 people being laid off from the site. Now this is 850 total people. It's about roughly about 450 USW members, so it impacts us greatly, and I'm sure the others can tell you how much of their constituency it impacts. December 9th is when Congress needs to make some decision on what to do about this funding issue, and right now they have a continuing resolution. If the continuing resolution stays in effect and it continues on and it's extended, you're probably going to talk about a deficit of closer to $100 million. That would be quite a bit more, and that would equate to about 1,000 employees at risk. That now, with that being the case, when you're talking about 1,000 employees being laid off, you're getting down to minimum safe operations, and that becomes very significant, because that gets into the situation where there will be no cleanup being done on site whatsoever. This is just people just staying, maintaining for regulatory purposes, and there will be no cleanup. So the future of doing any reindustrialization or anything significant at the site that we have all tried to maintain or proceed with goes away. It's our understanding that last Thursday, Congress did decide for a 6-month continuing resolution, which extends the current continuing resolution for 3 more months. And of course, with that being said, That being the case, if nothing gets done in the 3 more months, there's going to be a lot of people laid off coming here in 3 months because it really doesn't do anything for establishing funds for operation. Also, another significant issue that we need to keep in mind is that there's going to be a secretarial determination in the spring that may prevent the sale of uranium barter anyway, because the barter agreement or uranium sales has dropped approximately $40 per kilogram since the spring, and that's what's causing this issue to be so urgent. Now, if that's the case, the secretarial determination will be made whether to sell more barter or not, and which is what we use to do the cleanup at the site. The problem with that is, with the barter sales dropping in value, the secretary, whoever that may be, may make the determination not to sell any barter and just keep, maybe not sell any uranium, just keep that, hold that uranium back for a future day. Well, that eliminates a source of funding for us to do additional cleanup, which actually may grow to a bigger number than the actual 1,000. Now, the USW and the company has established austerity measures to kind of save some funding, and even though it's not exactly what we want as far as USW Local 689, we have encouraged people to take that, and that's some things like with days without pay, which is typically not something we normally do. The USW has also looked for different streams of fundings to do like training, and we're thinking that the training would offset some of the costs to do the cleanup. And there are other means to do that, and we are and have been pursuing those. Now, we are primarily speaking in this meeting, we're primarily speaking about the Portsmouth site, but this is actually a DOE complex-wide issue. The significance or the application primarily for Portsmouth relies on us being so heavily dependent on the sale of uranium. There's other sites do not have that complication as far as relying on uranium and the market value of that uranium whenever it's being sold. So what we would like to propose is that for long-term solutions, and that's what we're looking at, is long-term solution is basically take this project off relying so much on the sale of uranium, because it's going away anyway. In 2018, it goes away, and we need to prepare for that situation. So there needs to be some strong action as far as to make sure that there's consistent and steady funding for the site. That we believe, and we have had strong indications that there are federal resources available to correct this deficit, and they just need to access or develop that mechanism to actually access that funding source in order to continue the D&D of the site. One of the situations that's been discussed is to designate the project as part of a closure fund to guarantee a reliable funding stream and a clear timeline for cleanup and reindustrialization. And that's what I think we as steel workers, and I think everybody here also wants this to happen. It's our understanding this has been done successfully at other DOE sites. And one of the sites that keeps popping up is they've done this at the Fernald site to guarantee stable funding. So we need Congress to actually take some very strong action on this issue and actually prevent these layoffs from occurring. And actually we'll come down to the point that a small decision or patchwork is not going to resolve this issue. It needs to have a very significant strategy on keeping this project operating. And I'll turn this over to somebody else.
All right, Blaine?
I think that one of the really critical situations to remember here, and we never lose sight of it, but it keeps pushing, is that we're trying to finish this cleanup. It's now proposed out to 2044. One time we thought it was going to be 2024. But the idea that we have 3,700 acres with all the infrastructure you could ever need for reindustrialization is there. It's just a matter of getting it finished. And always these funding issues, and all the gentlemen here, we made trips to Washington, we've met various different places. One of the key things is that we do get from our congressional delegation, from the basic Congressman Winstrup, Congressman Johnson, our 2 U.S. senators, they've always been tremendously supportive of this, because if we didn't have their help, we would have no hopes whatsoever. So we're all in this together, but the inability to get appropriations to fit it, just like Herman was talking about, when you're relying on the barter and that price, which was $122 a kilogram, I remember, it seems not that long ago, and now they're threatening to drop it to 40. It makes it impossible to do the planning, to keep the stable workforce, to even keep a stable program out there as to what gets cleaned up next. What can you do? The recycling, which is supposed to take place. All of these things are very difficult, and we do need the stable thing, but we need to keep in mind that once this is cleaned up, we intend to reindustrialize it and use it for a new purpose. So it isn't like it's just going to be cleaned up and sit there like a barren field. So we have plans, we just can't get this consistent funding, and that's what we're really trying to do, and that's what the people are working for. Somewhere that has to come, and that's why we're here today to talk to you about our concerns. Certainly these layoffs are tremendous concerns. We can't even imagine what up to 1,000 people live there. People that whether they live here in the county, they either live here in Scioto County, in Jackson County, in Ross County, all of the businesses are affected, the schools are all affected. This is a tremendous thing here, and to try to get the importance across to the people here, which we basically understand, but to be able to push that into Washington, have those people look at us, make a decision, that's why we're here today.
Clint?
Being in the protective force, we're at a minimal staff right now as it is. 4 years ago, we lost 50% of our guard force due to budget cuts and everything. So this is important for our union as well as USW. And that's why we're supporting with Herman. Just, we need those funds to make up the barter.
Yeah. Mike?
Well, the only solution to the problem is to take the barter out of the funding mechanism, because barter hasn't been working. The price of uranium's been going down ridiculously low, and the only way to do it is to fix it and fix it properly. And I think what they're going to have to do is appropriate enough money to sustain the cleanup and hold on to the uranium that we have until the price comes back up. At what point do you quit giving it away? It looks to me like it's not getting the job done. Certainly we're not going to be able to sustain something by putting people on notice every December that they may not have a job by Christmas. And, it's been kind of ridiculous. I think the federal government needs to get their heads together and make a long-term solution out of this. You can't just sit around and do the same thing year after year after year and wonder why the job's not getting done. We know why it's not getting done. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. I think the Department of Energy has drug their feet on this. And, we've gotten a lot of help from Rob Portman and our congressman and Sherrod Brown, and it's been kind of a bipartisan issue, but I think that if they want to fix it, they need to just fix it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to sit around here and analyze it forever. We need to fix the problem and get on with it.
Jerry?
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with everything that's been said. But the biggest problem is we live in an area where there's a lot of unemployment. This needs to be addressed, taken care of, so the people who do work there know they have a steady income where they can turn that money back into the economy and help our counties and help the businesses. Because it's just like was stated, if you don't know if you're going to get a paycheck in 3 months, you're not going to be buying a house, you're not going to be buying a car. And to rely on this barter is just not a good system for anybody to have to rely on, especially the employees. They have to have something that they know they're going to have a steady job, a steady income, and it affects everything around them until that is taken care of. And that's why we're here today. We're trying to help devise a plan where this can be taken care of, and hopefully we can do away with the barter of uranium and get a fixed dollar amount where they know where to go in the future.
I think we all agree that barter is just not working. You know, because the site here is on has a barter program. You know, DOE has spent almost $1 billion at other sites counting on barter to pick up the load here, and it's just not working. You know, DOE needs to do the right thing for this community in this area, and I've said before, you know, when things are good in this part of the state, it's bad, you know. So these are good people that need to know that, like Jerry said, their jobs are here and they're stable. And the closure fund would help speed up the project. I understand maybe get it down to 12, 14 years instead of 2044. You know, so, and then we can move on with the reindustrialization of the site and put future generations to work. So, DOE, we need your help on this one. Come through for us. Anybody else have anything?
I want to ask for questions.
Oh, any questions?
Sure, I'll ask a question. As you know, of course, we just recently had a presidential election and be a new president in January. To your knowledge, has anyone, either at the plant site or anyone in the Ohio congressional delegation, reached out yet to the Trump administration, you know, early and gotten, you know, sort of put a bug in their ear that this issue exists and that it would be something for them to think about when appointing an energy secretary, et cetera?
I don't know of any. Herman may have some information on that.
Actually, last week we sent a group of people from the Steelworkers Local 689. Myself and Evan Brown went to Washington D.C. and we met with staff members and the congressmen themselves as well as the senators, and we actually asked them to reach out to President-elect Trump, to the transition team. We felt like it was necessary for us to get out there and actually explain what's going on at the plant site in case the transition team of the president-elect is not aware of what goes on. We think this is a pretty significant project that needs to be pursued, and we thought that this would, as soon as they are aware of it, we are confident that they would pick up on the idea of reindustrialization and creating jobs, since that's what they were running on. The political delegations that we met with, they all seemed very hopeful that could be done. I have not seen a letter yet, but they were all very positive. Like it was said before, is a bipartisan issue, and I think we got quite a bit of support from our political delegation. So we're just waiting to hear if that's happened. We did commit, our local and our international is committed that we would support with information and resources that in order to communicate that information that the transition team would need.
I did receive an email